So here we are on gates. Now, what we have here is a 50 by 50, and we still have the same normal rails that we're running through the rest of them, which is 62 mil. So then what do is we're using the tray of an old truck. And this one here, you can see we use onto the edge. So that one's always in the same position. And this one here, and we've welded these two lugs. So this piece of metal here will always come in and sit in the same. So what we do to start with is we line all of this up, and what we'll do is we'll measure from that, no, it's all right there, thanks JD. We'll measure from that corner across to this very corner, and then we'll take that measurement, and then we'll measure from that corner to this corner, and when these two measurements are the same, that means your gate's perfect. So the most important thing is you always cut this one and that end exactly the same. Very important, cut them exactly the same. Now you're making your gate, so and for this case you measure your gateway, where your hinge is going to be, etc. Because this is 50 mil and that's 50 mil, you subtract 100 mil off the length of your gate and then you weld it together. Now I always choose to do it this way because it's super simple. 50 mil, and you got your 50 mil pipe here, and you put spacers under, because obviously this tray's not perfect with the wear and tear in the metal. You use a table, concrete floor, set up some timbers on the ground, something. Just once you got them all set, you keep it secure. So 50 by 50, and this one here will come into there. So if you pull that one back into tight, that one into tight, that one down onto that point. Doesn't matter what length you cut these from this point on, your gate's always going to be perfect. Every time. Because this one and this one dictate your squareness of the gate. So if this rail and the one on the end are all cut to perfection, you're going to have an excellent gate, perfectly square every time. You can every now and then just run it from corner to corner to make sure, realising that if it's a good rectangle, your distance is going to be fine. If it's shorter across the middle, it's a rhombus. So if it's your measurement's short, that means the other corner has to move to extend this one out. It's pretty basic. So we've got 22 gates to make. So this is the jig that we make up. Now we're also going to do some welding, and we have a young farmer from New Caledonia who's going to demonstrate on how easy this is. And he's been welding for 2 days, and he'd never picked up a welding stick before in his life. So for a cheap MIG welder, which is, it runs a wire, I run a gas MIG. Meaning that there's a certain gas that comes out when you've got it. So it's a little piece of wire, that's the wire there. And when you weld, it's like sparking your batteries together in the car in a rough way. That heats up, that heats your metal, and you put it together. It's very, very simple. It's a lot easier than a lot of people would let on about. A cheap brand new welder could be $300 or $400 for a gasless MIG. And you can make these up yourself. You could probably, I don't know for sure, but check with the manufacturer's guidelines. You may be able to weld up your yards with it also. Now, as I pointed out just earlier, in cutting your steel, we make the frame first. So we'll tack weld this, JD will. He'll tack weld this and show you how this all comes together. Always just roll this pipe here, just, you know, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters off the ends is nice, because you can get a good weld and it doesn't burn away at the parent metal. And we'll tack in here, the weld. We'll go a weld here and a weld there and there, in and out on all 4 sides to make sure everything's right. Then he'll start to run nice heavy welds over it. And before you start, you see we've got a spacers in here. See, there's just a couple of cut-off sheets, saw blades. You get it so that when you look down on here, your pipe is perfect. Sometimes this pipe might be smaller than this, and you may have to jack the pipe up to sit in the middle of your pipe here. They're your fundamentals. But we cut this one perfect and this one perfect, and as I showed earlier, we put an arrow, and when we cut, say the one we're going to keep, we cut this side. Then when we go to do the middle ones, we cut this side. So when the next 3 drop inside of this, they will be, you know, maybe 3 mil shorter, and that's nothing, absolutely nothing at all. And they will all fit in here perfectly, and the ends won't get bulged and all. Now we made this up. It's just a steel post, and this sits into the center because remember we always measure center to center, and I've just put the drop saw in for the distances we need. So it's 260, 270, 360, 380. So because it's got the little cut on both sides, we can just come along and we put remember our arrow on each one of those. So when we stick our middle one in, don't have to mark that one because it's the center of the center. When we put our middle ones in, they'll just come straight to those points and zip, zip, zip. It's all done.